Okay, so let's be real with each other. Most beginners waste time on the wrong skills when learning the code. And I can say that because I did as well too. You open up YouTube or some course, and suddenly you're drowning in syntax, frameworks, buzzwords, and a must learn list in order for you to be a real developer. And before you know it, you've wasted days and weeks upon end memorizing little details in the grand scheme of things that really doesn't even matter. So in this video, I want to clear a couple things up. I'm gonna break down three of the most overrated skills you focus on as a beginner that you shouldn't be, and the three things that you should be spending your time focusing on in order to understand this skill and develop the skill of learning the code. So the first overrated skill is going to be memorizing syntax. Every beginner thinks that they need to remember every keyword or every function or every operator. I used to sit there and stress about whether I remember how to write a for loop perfectly or if I remember the syntax. But here's the truth. No one really cares if you memorize everything or not. Most developers Google things all the time or use some resource to kind of help make their development experience that much easier, even if it's something simple as an autocomplete. Syntax is kind of like just the grammar, if you will. It's like learning a new spoken language. You don't get fluent by memorizing the dictionary. You get fluent by actually having real conversations with people. So instead of obsessing or trying to remember every little detail, focus on understanding the concepts, like what a for loop does, or what uses a function, or how objects actually store data. If you know the concepts, the syntax will always be a quick search away, and you can utilize any resource you can to kind of help you with that. What's most important, like I said, is the actual concept. The next overrated skill is trying to learn every framework. Every month, there's a new shiny library or tool that's going to come out, and beginners feel like, oh no, in order for me to get a job, I have to learn this framework or I have to make sure I understand the latest and greatest technology. Otherwise, I'm behind. And I bounce, and I've done this too. I've bounced from framework to tutorial to the next project and just was all over the place with no clear structure or no real guidance. But the reality is a framework is just a tool. They come and go. What matters more is about the fundamentals and understanding how JavaScript works or how the programming language works itself, the DOM, Python, etc. If you understand the core language, learning a framework is going to be that much easier. It's like learning how to drive, if you will, right? Once you learn the basics of driving, it doesn't really matter if it's a Toyota or a Honda or a Nissan or a Ford, a car or a truck. You just adapt to the new vehicle that you have to maneuver and drive. So stop chasing every new framework, pick up one, build something real and genuine with it, enhance it, and focus on the others once you're comfortable with that first framework, and then you can move on to something else. The last skill that's typically avoided when first learning the code is focusing on the fundamentals. And this one kind of sounds backwards, but just hear me out for a second. A lot of beginners think that the fundamentals are boring, and to a certain extent they are. But the problem is that sometimes you skip ahead and don't take the time to genuinely learn the fundamentals. Most beginners are going to say, I don't want to learn arrays or objects. I just want to go jump straight in and build an app with AI or blockchain or Vibe or whatever the latest and greatest technology is. And then you get stuck because underneath that fancy tech, it's the same old building blocks in order to build an application. Look, here's the thing. Fundamentals are coding. Variables, functions, loops, data structures, algorithms, that's your fundamentals. They're not going nowhere. No matter the programming language, you have to have a good understanding of those. Skipping the fundamentals is like trying to play in the NBA, but you never practice dribbling or you never taken time to actually learn how to shoot a basketball or you don't have a good understanding of the rules of the game. That's kind of like trying to learn a framework without spending the time to learn the fundamentals first. Sure, you can probably make your way through it and you can pick up some things along the way. But in order for you to genuinely be good at it, you're going to have a good foundation. And that's where the fundamentals come in at. All right, so let's recap. The three most overrated skills that you typically focus on in the beginning when learning the code are memorizing the syntax, choosing too many frameworks to learn, and then avoiding the fundamentals. The fix for this is to pick one framework and actually build something and double down on the basics. So before you transition to a framework, make sure you have a good understanding of the fundamentals first. And if you take this approach, you'll find yourself avoiding that cycle of you're always behind, because the truth is coding isn't necessarily about knowing everything. It's about learning how to think, how to problem solve, how to build. So if you're just starting out, don't stress so much about keeping up with the hype or the latest fad. slow down, focus on what matters. And I promise you, you'll make a lot more progress if you enjoy the journey and stop just trying to sprint to the finish line. So, look, thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know some of the things that you learned that you wish you could have done over when you first started out the code that you learned now in the comment section. I learned to hear about it. Feel free to give me a like, and I'll see you in the next one.